It was 7 years ago, on February 26, 2014, in Simferopol, a large pro-Ukrainian rally was held. It became the last attempt of preventing Russia from occupying the Crimean peninsula. There was no one demanding secession of Crimean loudly, and only some worked for the cameras of the Russian propaganda channels. There are no separatist slogans today, and there are no plans to consider any issue concerning any secession. Don't escalate the situation. In some minutes, thousands of people with Ukrainian and Crimean Tatar flags gather in front of the Crimean parliament to support of the country's territorial integrity, and their voices sound louder. Tens of thousands people stood for the country's territorial integrity, and only marginal groups were against. I often say, and we should know it, that the next day, on February 27, the Special Forces of Russia seized the administrative buildings in Simferopol. That day the streets were already empty. 7 years ago the time of fear and horror started there, and it still continues. The whole world saw a completely different TV pictures that the Kremlin was counting on. Heavy military equipment moved freely across the Crimea. The armed military wearing no insignia are the so-called little green men. The Russian military set up checkpoints in the isthmus of Perikop and Chongar Peninsula, thereby cutting off the overland communication between Crimea and mainland Ukraine. Along with the Russian military, these checkpoints were guarded by another groups of armed people who had arrived in advance. On that day the session didn't happen, and in the night the Crimean parliament building was seized by two groups of military, only 110 people. In the afternoon of February 27, the Supreme Council of Crimea, whose premises were already controlled by the armed people, announced the pseudo-referendum on joining of the Ukrainian peninsula to Russia. 7 years later, neither Ukraine nor the civilized world recognized the pseudo-referendum, organized by the Kremlin at gunpoint. Crimea has been and will remain an integral part of Ukraine. At present, the Ukrainian government is doing everything possible in the international arena to de-occupy the peninsula as soon as possible. Reported by Roman Smoler, Inna Mazurkevich, Yulia Krючкова, UATV News.